Hi, everyone. This is Kristie with AG Takes Over. I'm really glad that you're here. I hope that you're doing okay, although it won't surprise me if you're not, because the world is not okay. Um, I know that for a lot of us, American Girl dolls are, or whatever dolls you collect, part of the appeal of them is that they're an escape from the heavier, yuckier things in our lives. And I do so respect that. So if people who generally would watch my content are kind of bowing out when I do videos like this, I get it. I do. I understand. But if you are watching it, I really appreciate it because one, dolls are also allowed to be a way for us to kind of work through and cope with some of the uglier, heavier stuff, not just escape, but face some of the uglier, heavier stuff. And and also, I'm having a real struggle lately, compartmentalizing life and kind of getting through life with awareness of what's going on in the world, in our nation and beyond is is hard trying to constantly compartmentalize. So I really appreciate the freedom to let these two things bleed together, and I appreciate you supporting me as I allow that to happen from time to time. So today's video will be, in part like, yes, good points, and maybe an echo chamber, and you can feel really good about the fact that we are aligned in a lot of things. But also, none of that's going to change the fact that it is a dumpster fire right now, and I'm saying that in the nicest way possible, right? And it's very heavy. So I really appreciate you being here. I think it is so important for us to not reserve our talk about justice and values and politics only for like certain circles. These things impact every aspect of life. They impact so many people in our society, and it it doesn't benefit us to limit them to like certain circles. So I am kind of embracing this overlap is what I'm saying. I know I'm taking the long route to say it. I told you I'm on the struggle bus today. I'm leaning into it. So if you need to back away from these kinds of videos, that's cool. If you're here, let's do it. Let's just do it. I've been going to a lot of protests lately in my town. They are primarily older people, like people who could be my parents, and it's just so inspiring because I think a lot of times, especially, I was a very militant young person, and I think that a lot of militant young people think that older people don't care, and that they have grown up and they've acquired some bit of financial stability and forsaken and abandoned those around them who are still struggling. And it's really nice to be reminded once a week that that's not always the case, and that these people are showing up week after week after week, and they're making calls and they're writing letters and they're sending emails and they're being loud and they're hollering, they're yelling into megaphones, and a lot of them are there on walkers. I'm not joking, and it's so helpful. It's so helpful to be reminded that we're not alone. Um, so I occasionally have taken dolls with me, but usually I just take one with me, and people enjoy it. The dolls usually, get some pictures. People who are regulars there are like, "Oh, which doll? What are they wearing? Which sign do they have? Oh, that's awesome. Can I take a picture of her?" But I haven't taken like more than one because it's just too much to handle. But there were a couple of events. One recently was the hashtag Toys Fighting Fascism over on Instagram. Please check that hashtag out. And then one that was coming up on No King's Day, which is right around now. I don't know when I'm airing this, but right around now, um, on June 14th. So I think it's World Doll Day, plus it's, a lot of No King's Day protests because it's Trump's big boy military birthday parade. Somebody on Instagram decided to host on the same day a hashtag dolls take a stand. So I was like, all right, I am going to have my dolls like attend their own protest. Not going to try to take them all to the protest that I go to at once because it's usually windy and it would be a logistical nightmare. But I'm going to kind of set up their own protest. Now that I've told you all that, we can finally dive into all of these fun pictures. So here we go. Here's Sabine, and she's a truly me one. I'm going to guess 18. I really never can remember. She's wearing a Dolls Doing Good shirt that is from American Girl, I believe, but I don't remember the occasion. I got it secondhand. And some of these dolls, most of the ones that I'm showing at the beginning, have two-sided signs, which made it really fun to get some extra pictures. So she has the fight for those without your privilege on one side. And then on the flip side is the only dangerous minority is the rich. My daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, dressed her. I think she did have on pink tennis shoes. And then Alexis went to a protest with me, and she had this sign, but she had it flipped over. So you'll see the other side in just a minute. She is wearing American Girl shoes, generic shorts. I don't remember if those are brand. I think they're off-brand sunglasses, and a shirt from Joe over at AGTV for Life. And her sign says, "We're not radical, we just remember history." And I was talking to somebody at the protest that I went to recently, and I said, these American Girl dolls, the historicals, they knew what was up. Like, they were fighting against child labor. I remember reading about Rebecca seeing union organizers protesting because they wanted to unionize. They wanted, healthier working conditions. And Rebecca's like going along, and she happens to be there, like, listening to some of the union people, and she's watching all these union busters show up, and they're like pushing women and children, and they're, just being violent and horrible. Well, she stands up to say something, like she gets inspired and she's ready to say something, and she gets hit in the head with a rock, like knocked the F out. And she sees police show up, and she's like, "Oh, good. They will arrest all of these thugs who are disrupting the unionizers." And then she has her first ACAB moment of realizing, "Oh no, that's not how it works. These police officers work to protect the wealth and the power of the corporations, of the factory owners." So that's exactly what they did. They showed up and started arresting all of the unionizers. Voting with your money. I remember Melody's story where she's like, "Oh, you're gonna treat my sister like that? I won't. I won't bank here. I won't shop here." I can't remember if it was the bank that wouldn't hire her sister, or if it was the store that wouldn't hire her. But anyway, her decision to be like, I won't be a patron of businesses that don't treat us fairly. So yeah, like, these dolls knew history. They knew what was up, and they were active because of it. So I felt like it was very fitting for one of the American Girl dolls to say, "We're not radical. We just remember history. Like, we've read the books." And then the other side of her sign, and it says, "Bombing kids is not self-defense." I think that the way that most people are okay just going about their lives is that they're not watching. They're not watching what's going on, and I know it's hard to watch, but not looking at something doesn't mean it's not happening. And women and infants and children and innocent people are being actively starved. Aid is there and it's being blocked. They are being starved to death. How are we not doing anything? When I did my Pride Parade video last year, I had dolls with signs there supporting Palestine. This is over a full year of a genocide. All right, next one. This shirt is from, oh God, Indie Dolls, and INDIEDOLLS or Z. I can't remember. It's an Etsy shop, and it's her sign. By the way, this is Ren, and she is a CYO with an Addie mold face that my wife designed. And her sign says, "Stop pretending your fascism is patriotism." That one should be self-explanatory. And then the other side of her sign says, when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. And that was a quote from Thomas Jefferson. Things are being turned into laws or treated as laws. Courts are being defied, court orders are being defied, and I need to see the rebellion. Like I think that I feel like I'm in a twilight zone. The next one is Deja, and she is a Truly Me 112, if I'm remembering correctly. And her shirt says Black History is World History. It is a design from Delightful Ribbons, and she is on Etsy as well. Her one side of her sign says there is no planet B. And then the other side says democracy is not a spectator sport. Democracy ends when silence begins. Like we have to be involved. So a lot of these signs are reminders for myself as much as for anybody else. Then the next one, oh, and by the way, I didn't mention this, but I took all these pictures in front of or like on the side of a community center in my town and kind of was waiting for somebody. It was on a Sunday. I was waiting to see if anybody just came out and was like, ma'am, can we help you? But it had a lot of different like colors of brick and a lot of just textures and things going on. So I was able to get all of these individual pictures, like not all having the same background, but without having to drive all over the place. So that was nice. All right. So anyway, here is Natalia, and I am not going to begin to pretend. 108, maybe. Truly Me. She's a Truly Me. I don't know. Her sign says complacency is complicity. And then underneath that, it says stand up, fight back. The other sign that she's holding, or the other side of her sign says, why are eggs so expensive? Because all the chickens are in Congress. This was directly taken from a protest sign that I saw in my town. And like adds a little levity and humor, but also royally pisses me off because it's so true. Like I use the 5 Calls app. I've talked about it a lot. I really encourage you, if you haven't downloaded it, to download it and start using it. But it is frustrating because the representatives that I have to call, all 3 of them, the senators and the representative, do seem to be fundamentally lacking a spine, compassion, and the ability to think critically, and it's so frustrating. So yeah, when I see because all the chickens are in Congress, I'm like, yes, why is nobody doing anything? Also, she is wearing off-brand shorts and headband, and she has a shirt on from Joe over at AGTV for Life, and her store is Your Dolly Superstore. Next is Danny. I love Danny. She's got on some AG sandals and shorts and some old school, like 90s AG glasses. She is a customized CYO. I bought the CYO secondhand and then rewigged her, gave her a piercing, and put some lip gloss on her. And I think I might have pierced her ears too, or maybe they came pierced. She is wearing a shirt from Indie Dolls. And the first side of her sign says, if you're not resisting, you're assisting. Kind of the same thing of complacency is complicity, right? It just happens to rhyme. If you're not assisting, or if you're not resisting, you're assisting. And then the other one is the other side of her sign says supercalifragilistic sexist Nazi POTUS. It's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, obviously, but I just can't say it that fast. That one was one that I haven't seen in our town, but I'd seen it on protest pictures online. Next up is Blair, and she's wearing another shirt from Joe at AGTV for Life. She's wearing some shorts from Silly Monkey Doll Stuff. Thank you, Jason. And some of the leopard print sandals that I painted, and some off-brand sunglasses. Her first side of her sign says, no one is above the law. And this is obviously in direct reference to the president and all of the people doing these ICE snatch and grab kidnappings that aren't showing, they're not showing identification. No one even knows who they are, if they are in any way authorized to be doing the things that they're doing. They're just walking around like they're above the law. And so, someday, somehow, something has to happen for them to be held accountable. All right. Next one is the other side of her sign, and it says, "The power of the people is greater than the people in power." And I need us all to say this to ourselves regularly, but to remember that the power of the people includes us. Like, it's not other people. The power of other people is greater than the people in power. The power of the people means us. Next is Kaya in her very subtle shirt, telling just what she thinks about ICE. Underneath it, it says, "No human is illegal." And her sign says, "ICE, terrorists masquerading as patriots." And I 1000% feel this. And then on the back of it, her sign says 10,000, and it doesn't say dead, but 10,000 children killed, and none of them had guns. Stop the genocide. Because the argument has been that the genocide is a war and that they are doing everything that they're doing in self-defense. Little children pose no threat. All right. Next up is Kingsley. He is a truly me 70 something. I never can remember these boys' numbers. Sorry. He's wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt that I made, and some, I don't know, I think off-brand jeans and Our Generation boots. One side of his sign says "Climate Action Now," and the other side says, "Whatever you allow the government to do to others, it will eventually do to you." And personally, I don't, I don't believe that's the right motivation. Um, I was listening to somebody the other day, and they were saying, "I'm not getting involved because I don't want it to happen to me later. I'm getting involved because it's happening to you now." And I think that's the right motivation. But I also do believe, like, know that your audience is varied, and know that your audience, different people in your audience will respond differently. So Kingsley's at a protest. He's not just, his target audience isn't just people who already think like him. His target audience, he's very kind. Has an abundance of compassion. Kingsley is one of our sweetest dolls. Um, he has so much heart, like I can't even describe it. He's doing the right thing for the right reasons, but he knows that people passing by as he's protesting, or people driving by, people that see his sign, this may be, this external motivation may be what they need. That whatever you are okay with the government doing, silencing freedom of speech, breaking and entering, um, skipping due process, ignoring habeas corpus, violating human rights, violating children's rights, all of these things that they're doing, like, if you're okay with it happening to other people and you allow it, it will eventually happen to you. Right? So that's Kingsley's motivation for that sign. All right. Um, Next is Ash, and they have a shirt on that I made that says "Protect Trans Youth," American Girl pants, and American Girl shoes. And the first part of their sign says, "Hate won't make us great." The chant that we say at the protest a lot is, "Love, not hate, makes America great." And then the other side of their sign says, "Protect the dolls." And then next is Prue. I was like, wait a minute. She has her hair behind her, so it's harder to see. Prue is a Truly Me 30, and she's wearing some of my favorite American Girl shoes, these red ones that went with a sweater and skirt set. I don't remember what it's called. And some American Girl capris, and a shirt from Joe over at AGTV for Life / Your Dolly Superstore. And she is wearing a hands off, or holding up a hands off sign that was from a larger hands off protest earlier this summer, late spring, I think. And if we were to zoom in, it says things like "hands off reproductive rights, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, science, PBS, etc." Next up is Covey, she's wearing American Girl shorts and shoes, a headband that my wife made, a shirt that Joe made, that says "Mind your own bleeping business," and it's got the uterus on there. Just trying to give descriptions in case these are hard to see for anybody who's low vision. And her sign says, "Without due process, no one is safe." It just says the exact same thing on the other side, but this side looked nicer. And I didn't show you the back of Prue's sign because the way that she was holding it was kind of tricky for me to just flip around. And then next is my mini me. So this is Casey, and Casey is wearing the Gap shoes from American Girl, some older American Girl pants. I mean, not old, but older. A shirt that I got from an Etsy shop that doesn't want me to say their name, but it says ACAB, no good cops in a racist system. And she's wearing an off-brand bandana as a mask. And her shirt or her sign says, "The police don't prevent crime, they prevent revolution." The last sign here is, I believe this is Willow. The sign says, "I need to be able to tell my children that I did not stay silent." And um, God, every time I see these videos of families being torn apart and grieving parents and confused children, distraught children, and I think about how this is not in the interest of public safety. You know, when you are picking people up, I just one example, somebody was here on vacation from Chile with their daughter. She was wrongfully arrested with nobody giving her the opportunity to even show who she was, and they left her 12-year-old daughter just on the street. When I see these things, you know, you can't help but think of how that would feel as a parent or how that would feel to a child. And I can't stop that. But at the very least, I know that I'm not going to have to look at my children and say, "I stayed silent." Like, I refuse. I refuse to do that. I may not be able to fix it. We may not be enough. I told my mom this. I was like, I don't know if what we're doing is going to be enough. I don't know if enough people are going to be outraged enough soon enough to turn this around. But I'm not going to have to look at my children and say, I wish I would have tried." I will not. So yeah, I keep bringing this stuff up, and I'm going to. And like I said, I'm still mixing in plenty of videos that are lighter. If you need to take a break from this kind of content and just join for the lighter stuff, that's fine. But also, if you need to be reminded that you're not the only one in the doll community who's concerned and who wants you to be active, like, yeah, keep coming for this, okay? Here they are in front of the mural outside the community center. So the problem with this picture, the mural is lovely, right? But they're all on the same level. So I had to like zoom out quite a bit, like stand really far back. And you just can't see them as well. But there was another spot I'll show you at the very end where I took them on the property of Ohio Wesleyan University that had a good photo op with some stairs. So that made for a better group shot. But here first, I just wanted you to see some pictures from my neighborhood, not my neighborhood, but my local protests, and just encourage you to find any way, whether it's 5 calls, whether it's donating, whether it's phone banking, canvassing for, things that you care about, whether it's just having hard conversations with people, whatever you can do, please, please, please do whatever you can. And here is the final picture of all of my dolls, letting the world know where their values stand, and just being out there and trying to care about their fellow humans or fellow dolls. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this whole thing. I hope that you're doing well, and I hope that you come back. Take care.